Ladies and tantrum throwers, Andy here. I went from depressed and suicidal to a life of joy and abundance, and if I can do it, you sure as hell can too. This is the Kill You're Gonna Loser show. Let's fucking go. I had this cool idea today on a coaching call with one of my clients, and it was a cool little thought exercise. So a lot of the time when something doesn't go our own way, we will throw a tantrum. We'll kind of argue and we'll get frustrated and we'll get annoyed. We're like a little child throwing a tantrum, especially with things like big goals that we really care about. So your self-improvement goals, maybe that's meeting some women, maybe that's losing some weight, maybe that's making money, whatever it is that you're currently working on or you currently care about. It can be very easy to get frustrated if something doesn't go your way. Maybe a woman says no to you. Maybe you go to the gym and you're aiming for 5 reps on the bench press and you only get 4. Whatever it is, that can get a little bit, or it can be easy to get yourself frustrated and throw that kind of tantrum, arguing with reality, particularly when it comes to other people. Other people are not, and this is a spoiler alert, so apologies if you haven't finished life yet, but spoiler alert, other people are not always going to give you what you want. They're going to disappoint you. They're going to let you down. There's a beautiful Buddhism quote which says, eventually everybody lets you down. And that sounds like a sort of cynical or, nihilistic way of looking at humanity, but it's a beautiful, freeing way of looking at humanity. Eventually, every single person on the planet is going to do something, if you come into contact with them, do something that you didn't want them to do, or you didn't expect them to do, or they might not say yes to everything you ask from them. So there's freedom in realizing that. And this fun little thought exercise that I thought up today is, what would happen if the exact opposite was to happen? So we get very frustrated when people don't give us what they want, right? We get frustrated when we don't always get what we want. What would happen if everyone in the entire world was to do everything we wanted all the time? What would happen if we always got what we want? Because that's kind of what we're implying, right? When we get frustrated that a woman rejected us, we're kind of saying, I wish she hadn't rejected me. You're arguing with reality. You're getting mad at what happened. You're getting mad at the universe, at her, at whatever it is that you're getting mad at life. It's not fair. Life isn't fair. What would happen if that didn't happen? What would happen if you always got what you wanted? And I kind of thought through it and I was like, there's only 3 ways that could ever work. As in, there's only three ways that you could always get what you wanted for the rest of your life. Always, always, always. The first way for you to get what you want all the time, 100% of the time, and nothing ever disappoints you, would be if every single person on the planet wanted you to have the things that you wanted. So if you said, hey, that woman's really attractive, I want to sleep with her, any woman that you ever said that about would have to want to sleep with you. So that would essentially mean everybody else on the entire planet only exists for you. And they only want what you want. Everyone on the entire planet is just here for you. I think we call that narcissism. But if you go a little deeper on that, if you actually explore that, if you go deep on that and go, what would that be like if everyone on the planet wanted whatever I want? Which is kind of what I'm implying when I get mad when someone doesn't do what I want. I'm kind of saying, I wish you would want what I want. What would it actually feel like if I got that? If I got everyone on the planet to want what I want? It'd be fucking lonely. Very lonely. You would be the only person on the planet with their own desires. You would feel like everybody else on the planet is an NPC or like a robot. You'd feel like none of them were actual human beings. You'd think, shit, they're just playing along. Is this a big prank? Have I been put into this weird torture chamber where everybody just wants whatever I want? I'm lonely. Can I just meet one person who could think for themselves, please? And you won't meet that person. You'd say to someone, hey, I just want you to think for yourself, please. And they go, okay, cool. I'd love to think for myself. And you're like, fuck, no, you're just doing that because I told you to. Or when you're sleeping with someone, when you sleep with a new woman or something, you would feel like the only reason she's sleeping with you is because you wanted her to. And then you go, well, do you want to sleep with me? And she'd be like, yes. And you'd be like, I don't believe you. You're only saying that because everyone on this planet seems to give me everything I want all the time, always. This is lonely. And you'd say, I want you to want it. And she'd go, okay, I want it. And you'd go, you're lying. You're just saying that because I always get what I want. You're faking it. You're just sleeping with me because I want you to. I want you to want it. you're also removing, or in that circumstance, you'd be removing any semblance of challenge. You would remove any challenge or any of the fun or any of the self-improvement journey. If for you to just get what you want all the time, we call that like chasing that desire. We call that addiction. That's what an addiction is. When you sit there and drink alcohol and become an alcoholic, you're trying to chase that feeling, that end goal of like, I get whatever I want. I get the dopamine hit. That's essentially what you'd be getting if you said, I get what I want all the time. You'd just be getting a free dopamine hit permanently. You'd be like hooked into the matrix. You'd literally just be getting fed a steady stream of dopamine because you get what you want all the time. The way the human mind works, maybe the way every animal works, at least every animal on this planet or most of them, you would invent your own challenges. You would get very complacent, very lonely, very bored, very depressed because there'd be nothing that would have any meaning anymore, because a big part of meaning is struggling. A big part of meaning, and struggling doesn't mean suffering, but overcoming something, learning, growing, evolving, trying something new, experimenting, making a couple of mistakes and learning from them. Like that whole process is what brings us meaning. And if everybody just did everything you wanted at every point in time, you'd get very bored. You'd start giving yourself challenges just to keep yourself entertained, just so you could learn something, so you could grow. And you'd feel very cut off from the rest of the world. So that's the first option. That would be the first way that you could get what you want all the time and no one would ever disappoint you and you'd never, ever, ever get annoyed, right? That doesn't sound that fun. The second way you could always get what you want all the time is you get what you want all the time, but other people wouldn't want that for you. So in the first example where I said everybody just wants whatever you want, they just want whatever the fuck you want. In this example, we're basically saying they wouldn't want you to get what you want, but God or the universe or divinity or whatever would give it to you anyway, because that's essentially what you're saying. When you're saying this person shouldn't have cut me off in traffic, it's like, but they wanted to. Or this woman shouldn't have rejected me. It's like, but she wanted to. My boss shouldn't have been mean to me, but he wanted to. He did. He wanted to. You're essentially saying everything that everyone else wants, they shouldn't get to have what they want, but I get to have what I want. Even if that means somebody else wouldn't be getting what they want, I'm more important. I get what I want, or I want to get what I want, which is what we do when we throw a tantrum, right? And I've been there a million times as well. I'm not immune from this. When I get frustrated, or when we get frustrated with someone else, doing what they want to do and us not getting our way, you're essentially saying my needs are more important. You're like a child throwing a tantrum, saying I deserve what I want. And in order for that world to happen, in order for that to happen where you always get what you want, in this example, they would never be getting what they want because you're more important. So you would have a universe or a world where there are a ton of unhappy people that you made unhappy because you got what you wanted and they didn't get what they wanted. And they would think life is unfair, like I never get what I want. So you'd be surrounded by a bunch of people that wherever you go, a bunch of people are just disappointed by you. Because no matter how kind or magnanimous or wonderful you might think you are, and you might be, most of you are pretty lovely human beings, but in you getting what you want, sometimes somebody else won't get what they want. That happens. Sometimes you going for what you want and having boundaries and saying, hey, I don't think I want to do that. Or, hey, I would like to do this instead. You might disappoint someone. Now, you're not disappointing them. They're disappointing themselves. You're not the one disappointing them. You just did what you wanted. They are the ones that got disappointed. But, in doing that, in you going for what you want, in this example where you always get, the pretend universe where you always get what you want all the time, you're going to just disappoint a whole lot of people. You're probably going to disappoint every single person that you come into contact with. Because what you've said is, when I throw a tantrum because I don't get what I want, I wish I could just have it anyway. Okay? If like God or the universe or whatever could just click, or a genie could just like click their fingers and give you what you want, that would mean a lot of other people are probably going to be very unhappy. That doesn't sound that good. That'd be very lonely. Again, the two examples that we've given so far, in order for you to always get what you want, which is essentially what that childlike ego is saying when we sit there and throw a tantrum, we're saying, I want to always get what I want. The universe should go the way that I want it to. People should behave the way that I think they should. I should just get whatever the fuck I want. When you're doing that, there's only two ways so far that we've explored that could ever be the case. Either everyone just wants what you want. That doesn't sound that good. Or people still want what they want, but they don't get it. You get what you want because you're more important. Both of those so far sound a little bit lonely. They come with a lot of problems. The third option, the rational option, the loving option, the peaceful option, the kind option, the truthful option, is in order for you to get what you want, you change your thinking. Instead of throwing a tantrum when somebody rejects you, not that any other human being could ever reject you without your consent. All they're saying is, I just don't want to sleep with you. That's not a rejection. You call it a rejection, and then you reject yourself. If you like yourself, nobody can reject you. They just don't want to have sex with you. That's as simple as it is. But if you change your thinking and turn some of these things around, and instead of saying, this person rejected me, you say, hey man, isn't that beautiful that she's able to say what she wants and go for it? I love that. Man, I love that. Or you send an email and the person replies with something rude. Hey man, I love that this person is confident enough to speak their mind. That's good. They've saved me time because now I know not to deal with them because I like polite people. And this person I don't feel was super polite. So great, they've saved me some time. You go outside and it's raining, and instead of saying, man, I hate the weather. How come it always rains in winter? Gee, I don't know. Maybe because it does that every single year. And by the way, I used to complain about winter every single year, even though it was always exactly the same every single year, and I'd somehow be surprised. Why is it cold and rainy? I don't know. Maybe because it's like that every single year. That's why we call it the weather and seasons that seem to repeat every single year. But instead of going outside and complaining about the weather, you change your thinking and you go, man, it's raining. That brings life to crops. That supports the earth. It's just, even if you want to just be neutral, it's just the way that it is. It rains. It rains sometimes. It's kind of cold. I just need to wear a jacket or an umbrella or a jumper, or just be okay with being cold. If you can just get yourself to a point of like just being neutral instead of like complaining about stuff, which is a lot of what I talk about on my channel, right? How to get your head right, or how to improve your thinking to more positive, more self-supporting ways of going about, life, of going about your thinking. You don't need to change the entire world. In fact, you don't need anyone to change. If someone comes up to you and says, I don't want to sleep with you, you're like, that's fucking beautiful. Man, I'm so impressed that you're able to say what you want. I love that because I wasn't always able to say what I want. And now I'm watching you with confidence. Man, you're teaching me something. Thank you. Thank you for teaching me boundaries. Like, thank you. Or someone cuts you off in traffic and you're like, that's awesome that this person knows what they want. They're able to just go for it. Man, I don't always have the confidence to cut people off in traffic. That's kind of cool that they do. They have the balls. Or you can look inside and see a little bit of humanity and go, you know what? I cut people off in traffic too. What the fuck am I talking about to be mad at you? I'm only mad at you because I'm kind of mad at myself. Gee whiz, maybe we're a little bit similar. Okay, fine. Like, I won't be mad at that because, fine, I do the same thing sometimes. If you can, improve these ways of thinking, and again, a lot of my content is about that, and I will continue to give you guys everything that I can learn and all these techniques and ways of improving your thinking and in ways of bringing yourself up to a higher level of consciousness. That is the way to your freedom. This is something that basically every great teacher talks about. Like, I talk all the time about Byron Katie and David Hawkins and people like that, but Buddha, every religious text, all the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, the Dalai Lama, so many of these people, if you go and actually read what they're saying or read some of their quotes or a lot of the stuff that they talk about, it's about changing your thinking. Byron Katie has a great quote, change your thinking, change the world. That is the only way that you will actually find some sort of peace or happiness or joy or love, is in realizing that you don't actually want every other human being on the planet to give you what you want. Because that would just be lonely. Either they'd all be miserable giving you what you want, or they'd be happy giving you what you want, but at some point you'd be like, everyone just always gives me what I want all the time. There's no challenge anymore. There's no opportunities for growth. I'm also lonely. So it would be very lonely and miserable, and you would invent your own challenges if everybody just gave you everything you wanted all the time. So the only actual answer here is to change your thinking. And deep down, that's what you actually want. That's what every single person on the planet wants. They want peace. They just think that the way I'm going to get peace, or the only tool that they have in their toolkit, is complaining or getting frustrated or getting annoyed. And you think sometimes in expressing that frustration that that's going to change reality. That if you just complain or bitch and moan or get really upset or angry or smash your fist on the table, that reality will shape itself around your machinations or your desires, right? And sometimes that works, but a lot of the time that doesn't, does it? But the one thing that you can always improve is your mental headspace, the way you view things, your clarity of thought, the way you frame things. We talk about reframing all of the time. Like I just gave you guys some examples. Someone cuts you off in traffic. I cut people off in traffic too. All right, fine. Like, I'm not going to get mad at that. Or someone says they don't want to sleep with you. God damn it, that's so great. Because I in the past have done stuff that I didn't really want to do. This person is able to say no when they mean no. Holy shit, is that not beautiful? Is that not the most amazing thing ever? I don't know that I always say no when I want to say no. I want to give this person a hug for saying no to me. Holy crap, I love that. If you can reframe these thoughts and turn everything into a positive, and by the way, every single negative thought on the planet has a, I can never say this word, and I always try and say it on air, corollary, opposite, turnaround. It has an opposite. Every single negative thought does. You give me any negative thought, please leave your negative thoughts in the comments below. I've spent the entire last 5 years, every single time someone gives me a negative thought, I'm like, man, I love you sharing that. Thanks, that's so awesome. Hey, have you thought about it like this? Every single problem has a solution, bar none. There is no exception to that. There will always be a solution. Even sometimes the solution is, I'll just let that go, man. I'll just be okay with it. That's a solution. Finding peace is a solution. Peace feels pretty good. And so changing your thinking, as Byron Katie says, does change the world. The entire world is different if your mental headspace is very clear and loving, or at least just neutral. You don't even have to be loving and peaceful and joyful, just neutral. Just call things what they are. Instead of saying it's raining, it sucks, I hate it, just say it's raining. And your mind will want to then tell a story about, oh, that sucks, it's cold, it's this. But just tell the truth, it's raining. Anything else I add on there is a value judgment. It's me making up some stories. It sucks. If it sucks, then how come I, Andy, can come along and see that same rain and go, that's beautiful, man. I love the rain. I love how cold it is. I love that it makes me shiver when I step out into it, because that shiver response keeps me alive. Isn't it beautiful that my body wants to keep me alive? And that I have this biological impulse to keep myself alive. That's life-giving. This rain is teaching me that I want to be alive. Damn, that's beautiful. How is that possible that I can say something beautiful about something you say sucks? It means that neither of us are being objective. We're adding extra subjective stories onto it. We're telling a story. We're spinning a yarn. We're telling a narrative about the rain. But the actual truth is, it's raining. That's it. So if you can pull yourself just even to being neutral and just say, that person cut me off in traffic. And again, your mind will then want to tell the stories, but there are many different techniques for what you can do. One thing that Plato, the philosopher Plato said, was essentially just kind of ignore your ego thoughts. Notice them, go yeah, I'm listening, but whatever, you're just rambling. Ego, you're just saying some weird stuff all the time. Whatever, man. If you just do that enough times, eventually the ego kind of shuts up. The ego goes, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm just talking shit all the time. Fine. I'm still going to keep talking shit, but I'll do it much quieter. I'll shut up a lot of the time. And your mind kind of quietens. Another really good book for this is Letting Go by David Hawkins. Another great book is You Can't Afford the Luxury of a Negative Thought by Peter McWilliams, which is really good at turning those negative thoughts into a positive one, or finding the positive in every situation. Again, it's raining, that sucks. No. Look how much life that is bringing to the earth. Look how many children love to run around and play in the rain. As you see the rain, you think, man, there's probably a kid somewhere in this neighborhood who's running around in the rain having a good time. That's nice. I like when kids are happy. That makes me feel good. You come up with some way that you can turn it around, and there's always a turnaround. There's always a positive. Another technique that you can use is by Byron Katie. So if you read any of her books, such as Loving What Is, or I Need Your Love, Is That True? Any of these books, she talks you through her process called The Work, where all you're really doing is when you have a negative thought, you just question it, you investigate it, you just see if it's true. You go digging like you're a little private investigator and you say, is that true? Can I really know that's true? That the rain sucks? Can I absolutely know that it's cold and miserable and it sucks? Well, I think I know that. I'm pretty sure I know that. Okay, let's investigate. Can I come up with 3 ways that the rain is awesome? And this is something that you guys and girls would have heard me do quite a lot. And I do this with all of my coaching clients. When they're feeling negative about something, I'll go, give me 10 reasons why this is a good thing. So if they say, man, I got rejected and I feel really heartbroken, I'll be like, give me 10 reasons why this rejection is beautiful. And they'll go, what do you mean? I can't, it hurts. It's like, no, stop. Give me 10 reasons why it's beautiful. Just write them down. If you struggle to write 10 down, I'll help you. But let's attack it. Let's find 10 reasons. You find 10 ways it's great. Even just 3 is enough. Even just 1. Come up with 1 reason why this is actually a good thing. I prefer 3 or 10. And then you'll go, oh, maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe I'm just calling it a bad thing. But I could also call it a good thing. Okay. Like you're starting to just investigate some of these negative thoughts or these limiting beliefs or these stories or these narratives that, you know, a lot of us sort of hang on to. The ego is always sort of telling you stories and, you know, this person's fat and that's bad, or that woman's ugly, I wouldn't sleep with her, she's a bad person. This guy's just trying to make money, that's evil. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about, he's an asshole, blah, 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 blah. It's raining, it's cold, that sucks. This asshole cut me off in traffic, he's a dickhead, he shouldn't be on the road. The people like this should be illegal, he should be locked up. Like the ego will tell you those sort of stories, but I promise you if you just sort of slowly start investigating some of them, you don't have to investigate all of them. You don't have to get rid of all of them. But you start this process of just doing this every day, turning some of these ones around, replacing them with a more positive thought, or even just checking if there are any positive thoughts. You don't have to believe the positive thoughts. I'm not telling you to go outside when it's raining and go, man, I love the rain. But just see if there is a way that you could potentially, possibly, in an alternate universe, see the rain as a good thing. Or see the person who cut you off in traffic as a good thing. Or see the person who, you know, rejected you. See that as a learning experience. See that as like, yeah, what doesn't kill me will make me stronger. I'm glad she rejected me because it's helping me build my stoicism. It's showing me a lot about myself. We're just seeing if there is a possible way that it could be a positive. Any possible way ever. Even if you don't believe that way, you're at least just showing yourself, okay, it doesn't have to be negative, or I don't have to get this down and hurt and disappointed about it. There is a world in which maybe I could be positive. And I promise you, the more you do this is something I've been doing for like 10 or 15 years, right? Especially since I found a lot of my self-improvement content and Good Looking Loser and all of that sort of stuff. As I've improved myself and as I've practiced this skill, and it is a skill, it's a habit you build. It's a muscle that you work, I guess you could say. As you build this skill or this habit of turning things around and looking for the positive and just trying to even see if there is a positive in the first place, questioning your thoughts and saying, is that even true? Like, do I have to believe that thought just because it's in my head? Just going through that process, it gets so much easier, and I promise you get to a point where it happens automatically. For the last probably 5 years, but especially the last like 3 months, 6 months, the last couple of months really, every single negative thought that comes into my head, my brain giggles at it. I'm like, that's so silly. And then my brain will just automatically turn it around. Actually, that's been happening for quite a few years, but it now happens with basically every thought. That's happened for probably 10 years because I did a lot of this work in my 20s after my depression and my life fell apart and all of that. I promise it can build up into a habit. It becomes a really easy habit, and then it's really nice. You're not scared of your thoughts anymore. You're not scared of the outside world. You're not scared of other people disappointing you or letting you down or not doing what you want. In fact, you like it because you realize every single time my ego or my brain tells me that something is bad or this person should have done what I want, every single time when I question it, I actually find some freedom and realize like how this is actually a good thing. And nothing is ever, as Byron Katie says, nothing is ever happening to me. It's all happening for me. Nothing is ever happening to you. It's all happening for you. The only way you're going to know that is if you go into every single thing that you think is happening to you. You know, this person cut me off in traffic. He's doing this to me. Like this person rejected me. She's rejecting me. She's doing this to me. You investigate all of them and you're trying to see if there's a way that this could have happened for you. In other words, is there a way this happened to support your growth? Is there something you can learn from this? Is there, even sometimes you go through a painful experience and you're like, man, there's no good in this. This just hurt. It's like, yeah, but are you ever going to do that thing again? You're like, fuck no, I'm never doing that again. It hurt so bad it was awful. And it's like, well, that's cool. That's taught you not to do that anymore. That's pretty positive. Now you know not to do that thing. That's impressive. That's nice. That's a good thing. That's for you. That's supporting your growth. So if you really investigate and check, every single negative thought that you could ever have has a turnaround Whether or not you believe that, whether or not you go and find that, that's up to you guys to find out. Don't just take my word for this. I don't have all the answers, but investigate a lot of the stories and just see how you feel. If you feel more peaceful after checking them or finding the positives, do that. Great. But to bring it back to the original, discussion, I'll summarize and say, in order for you to get everything that you want all the time, you've got 3 options. The first one is that somehow, divine fucking intervention means that every single person on the planet just gives you what you want all the time. That would be so unbelievably lonely. You'd never trust anyone, and you'd just feel like they're just a bunch of robots or NPCs. You'd feel lonely. You'd feel like the only rational conscious mind on the planet and everyone else is just existing for you. That'd feel like some sort of lonely cosmic joke. The second option would be you always get what you want, but not everyone is happy with that. But fuck them, you just get what you want because God or the universe or whatever just has given that to you because you've stamped your fist on the table and said, I should always get what I want. That sounds lonely too. That sounds like everywhere you go, you're going to disappoint people because you're going to get what you want and they're never going to get what they want. Never any compromises, never any fairness. It's just you always get what you want 100% of the time. People would hate you. Like really hate you. And then the third, only rational option is in order for you to get what you want all the time, line up with what's happening. Get yourself in tune with reality. And every single thing that happens, instead of fighting it as best you can, find a reason why it's positive or why it happened for you, why it supported your growth. Or have I talk about this all the time, have a winner's mindset, have a winning mindset. Say, okay, this thing happened and I want to tell a story of how this is bad for me. But fuck this, man. I want to win. I'm going to find a way to make this a good thing. Even if right now I can't see a way that this will support my growth or be good for me, I'm going to make that a reality. I'm going to find a way this is good for me. I'm going to make that happen. Hey, brilliant. Do that. Have the courage to do that. That's great. And then every single thing that happens in your life, you can say, this is supporting me in some way or another. This is going to help me. This is an opportunity. Grant Cardone has a great quote. He says, every problem is an opportunity in disguise. I love that quote. It's very similar to my quote. Every problem has a solution, but his just goes even further and says, every problem is actually going to support your growth. It's an opportunity to be better, to learn something, even sometimes to just not do that same thing again. Hey, now you're a better, more well-rounded, more knowledgeable person who's not going to do the same things that they did in the past that caused them some pain and suffering. Brilliant. You've grown through something that you thought was suffering or bad or pain or miserable or awful or shouldn't have happened. It's like, no, it should have happened because it got you to where you are today. It got you to grow. It got you to learn. A big part of that means you have to step up from the victim mindset up into courage. You have to be willing to do some of the things that I'm saying. You have to take action. You don't just listen to these words. Go out and actually try it. When you have a negative thought, you have to put into place the steps that I'm saying. You have to turn it around and say, can I find a positive? Can I find a way this is an opportunity? But I promise you there's freedom on the other side of that. The more you do it, the easier it gets. The more courageous you feel. Eventually you lift yourself up way past courage and you get to a point where you go, I have not found a single thing in my life that didn't add to my growth. Every single place I looked, every rock I turned over, I left no stone unturned, and everything that's happened in my life I investigated, and every single one of them I could find at least one way that helped me. Holy shit, the entire universe is here to make me better. Everything, every person that cut me off in traffic, every negative comment, every person who yelled at me, every person who ever hurt my feelings, every person who rejected me or broke my heart, every person who abused me, all of that, everything, I could find at least one good thing in it. Holy crap. Everything that happened in my life happened for me. None of it happened to me. That is the $1 million 420 IQ epiphany. If you can fully embrace that, you have a life full of freedom. If that is a little bit of a big, pill to swallow, take your time with it. It took me probably I'm 35 now. It's taken me probably 20 years to really embrace that idea of like, holy crap, like everything that's ever happened to me, damn, like there's some good in every single thing that's ever happened to me. Even the stuff that for the longest time I said was awful. My depression, my suicidal years, the relationships that I was in where there was violence, like everything that's ever happened benefited me. But you have to go hunting for that. You have to go looking for that. Don't just take my word for it. Every single one of you is going to have something in your life that you can look back on and go like, nah, Andy's wrong. There's no way this thing here was good for me. It was awful for me. You are going to have, and you're welcome to do this or you're welcome not to do this, but if you would like your own freedom, you're going to have the courage to go deep on some of the darkest stuff that has happened in your life and say, is there a way that this could have been good for me? Fuck, man. That's some deep shit. That's some very, very tough stuff. I don't expect everybody to be able to do that immediately. Some people will never do that. It's very intense work, I'll say that, but I promise you that your freedom is on the other side of it. It's definitely worth it. Definitely highly recommended. Go out there. I won't finish by saying crush your goals. I'll finish up by saying go out there and have some courage. Change your thinking, change the world. That beautiful quote. Read any of Byron Katie's books or read any of David Hawkins' books, or You Can't Afford the Luxury of a Negative Thought, or anything on Buddhism, or, there's a million different pathways to the same place. But I promise you, even counseling can help. I'm here with coaching. Hey, I've got that. $250 coaching calls. I'll sit down with you and we will do this work. I will help facilitate this with you. This is something that I do with all my clients. I love this work, but, start, if you want to, I can't make you, but if you would like to, show yourself that courage. Show yourself you have the ability to be courageous and start sort of embracing or running towards some of your thoughts and like welcoming them, really sticking your arms out and saying, okay, I'm ready. This thing that's terrified me my entire life, let's investigate it. Is there a way that this could have been a good thing? Or some like dark part of my childhood or some thing that I say is horrible that happened to me? Can I go in and find one way that maybe this could have been a good thing for me? Or one way that I can make it a good thing? Can I take ownership of it? And that's what I'm getting you to do. Can I take responsibility for it and ownership of it and not be the victim anymore and turn it into something beautiful? If I truly believe that this is like a dark patch of dirt or a graveyard or something, some dark stain on my soul, can I plant some flowers over the top of it? Can I, with courage, turn it into something beautiful?